Welcome to our Compliance Conversations, hosted by Insurance Licensing Services of America and Spot On Insurance. Today we're covering compliance in the age of social media. This is part 2. You know why? Because part 1 was that good. It was riveting. I'm really enjoying what these guys are talking about here.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. This is going to be a 1-hour session as opposed to last week's. We had a 2-hour session. That was all about Puerto Rico and the tax benefits for the insurance community. If you guys missed that one, you can just check it out on our YouTube replay. If you think of a question, a compliance question, while we're in the middle of the session, just go ahead and put that question into the questions and answer section, and we will be fielding those questions.
All right. Our experts are Joshua B. Lee, co-founder, StandOut Authority; Joanne Delgado, Vice President of Education and Compliance, the Surplus Lines Association of California; Mike Willits, Director, Commercial Lines, Pacific Crest Independent Insurance Alliance. And we've got Joyce King in the house. Feeling good today, aren't we, Joyce?
Feeling better.
Quality Assurance Administrator. She'll be asking all the questions sent to ccquestions@ilsainc.com. Russ Foster, our GM,
will be helping us out with some of the resources that we have available to you guys today. And Christian Masonette, our Spot On Insurance Manager. So Joyce, today we are going to be doing a deep dive into social media activities with everything. I mean, all of us, business-wise, professionally, we are on so many different platforms. So this is going to be very interesting to get feedback from on the agency side, from the regulators, and of course from experts from different platforms like Josh from LinkedIn. So tell us a little bit about what we'll be covering, more about what we'll be covering.
You bet. And today, thank you, panelists, for being here. I'm super excited Joanne was able to join us here on part 2 so we can get that regulator perspective. Josh, super excited to have you back as well. And we want you to just share all the knowledge that you have on LinkedIn. And thank you, Mike, again for being with us. You brought so much to our content last time. So we'll just get right into it. So the last one that we recorded, for anybody that wasn't able to join us, that was recorded on August the 6th, and it was social media outlets part 1, and we're going to finish this up today. But in part 1, we talked about several different outlets: Facebook, Twitter, different things. But for the particular industry that we're in, I think we all can easily agree that LinkedIn is really one of the most powerful tools for us to use within the insurance industry. So Josh, we got into this some last week, but I want you to just really give us the earful about LinkedIn engagement marketing.
No worries, Joyce. I'm happy to be here. It's always, we're going into social media compliance. I'm like, why are they bringing me on? And so all these other amazing people that are on the call, with us right now, especially, since I'm outside of the industry. I think the only one on the call, but yeah, I mean, LinkedIn's a great place to be able to do that. And, we can kind of go through depending on, there's so many different strategies, right? I mean, I just jumped off a call. Someone was like, well, what about this strategy? Look, there's so many strategies on LinkedIn. The biggest thing that I look at is, how do you do it right? How do you do it in a human fashion? And how do you actually truly do it without, spamming and pitching and selling and annoying people, to, really treat them with the respect, not only do it the right way for compliance, but also do it the right way as a human being. And I mean, that's kind of what we do on LinkedIn with the engagement marketing piece.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
So what do you want to know? Like, hey. I mean, you ask me some questions. Tell me. I mean, I'll jump in. I'll share the world.
I'll throw a question at you, Josh. Like a lot of people want to have large networks on their, on their platform for LinkedIn. Talk to us about some of the limitations and some of the algorithms that they use to track what you might be doing to expand your network.
Yeah, I mean, Arleen, that's a great question, because so many people go on, and one of the biggest things, I mean, look, we all get upset, right, with the messages that come. Usually the spam message is what really turn people off of LinkedIn, because they're like, you're going to connect with someone and 2 seconds later they're going to pitch. And most of that is automation. On LinkedIn, the one thing you don't want to use is automation, because if they catch you or see you using automation to expand your network, trying to go in and hope that out of the 1,000 people you reach out to connect with and spam, that you'll still get that one sale, you're going to be okay. Well, if LinkedIn catches you doing that, one, you have the potential of actually losing your account. And I mean, that's a bad thing to be able to do. We've all had these accounts for years. The way LinkedIn's growing, Microsoft's putting more money into it. You want to be able to leverage that, because not only do people have higher disposable incomes, they have higher jobs, and they're more educated on that platform. So most of the people that you're going to want to be able to connect with, especially in this world, are going to be on that platform. And not out of that, look, if you're going to send out 1,000 spam messages, more than likely to get that one sale, you're probably going to piss off 999 people. There's a better way to be able to do it. I mean, and look, most of the things that I go through, Arleen, is, look, treat people with respect, right? Like, what did our parents teach us how to be able to treat other people? Let's do this online, right? When you reach out, have a reason to be able to reach out, engage, appreciate someone for posting, find your right audience. I mean, we use LinkedIn as a social listening tool to be able to engage on our ideal audience's content first, be able to identify them, give them a like, give them a comment, and reach out and be like, oh my God, Joyce, I saw your post the other day. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing great content. Love to be able to connect with you. Now you can actually have a conversation, but you start out with that appreciation. And in this world, more so than ever before, I think we need more appreciation. We're all, as I think I said last time, we're all appreciate the little things a lot more than we ever did, because they've been taken away from us.
Yeah.
But we need to continue to be able to do that. So that's the piece, right? So many people send connection requests, or they walk away from them after they've connected, or they pitch. There's better ways to be able to do it.
So
you don't want to risk your account.
So there's no place for this list, where people get all these lists and then they send out all this information, because it's happening all the time. I receive that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ted, how often do you want to be able to, you can scrape emails off of LinkedIn and then mass email people outside of that as well too. But if you're not enjoying getting the messaging yourself, and then you want to be able to go in and scrape emails, LinkedIn doesn't allow you to be able to do that. You can download your contact list, but there's reasons why those platforms, those programs that are out there, are constantly changing their algorithm as well, and their how to be able to get around their algorithm so they don't get caught. Like any platform or system, I don't care what social media platform, LinkedIn included though, if you're having to use a program to be able to either mass message people, go through and spam them, go through and scrape through emails, and that's constantly updating every day, you're risking your entire system. You're risking not only your personal brand, your company brand, and the business that you're going to create down the line. Yeah. And there's better ways to be able to do that. And this is, look, we all have to be able to be better these days more than ever. More people are online, and we have to be able to understand how to be able to cut through that and be the leaders and the companies that people deserve.
Yeah. By the same token, I just want to add, like for me, I have probably like 25,000 insurance, mainly 90% is insurance professionals on my network, and Ted, probably another 20,000 or so.
I'm lagging.
And I use LinkedIn every day. I'm there every day having conversations with people. I get people that I don't know, and that's what I'm there for. Like they'll reach out to me about a job, either they have a job opening, and I appreciate that because I can go and run my filters, and if they say, hey, I'm looking for a surplus lines compliance coordinator, I can go in and easily identify 400 people in my network that might be a good fit to send that resume out to. I don't mind.
Right.
That's what we're there for. It's a business resource. And for me to connect someone with, a potential new employer or vice versa, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great platform to be able to go in and like educate and inspire and draw in your audience, because everyone else is selling. So that's the biggest thing that you can actually be able to do. And Joyce, I think you had said something and something you sent over to me, like how, is it always business? Is it always, look, every business is run by another human being. We have to allow that to be able to shine through. Now, compliance wise, we talked about this as well. Make sure you understand what you can share, what you can't, and always understand that you represent not just yourself, but your company. And you need to even, a lot of times in your profile, you need to represent that. There needs to be some kind of statement. The views stated on what I'm posting are representative of me, not my company. But still, people connect with other people. And there's, and like Arleen, like you're saying, you want to be able to build up. It's not about just having a whole bunch of numbers. It's about having the right connections. And I love that there's some people like, I've got 30,000 connections. Do you know any of them?
Right.
No. I love that you're like, yes, 90% of the people are in my network. I'm getting that engagement. I'm adding value. I'm creating opportunity. And it's a great platform for that. But people don't see that. I know I think like Carrie asked a question too. Second level is more productive. Yes, there are second level connections. Like if I was going to go in and say, hey, I'm really excited, like we did it, right? I think Mike, you did a post and then we kind of shared it, went through, and I mean, being able to connect, right? I mean, Mike did a post about this going out. We were doing this live. I did a post as well too. I think we tagged Joanne, I'm not sure, but being able to go in, like not just doing that post, I reached out and connected to every single person that liked or commented on that post. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to reach out. Because I don't think we do this enough. I saw you like the recent post, or I saw you like Mike's recent post. Thank you so much for, for doing that. You didn't have to. I'd love to find out what pushed you to check out, or how you know Mike, or how you know Arleen. And it actually starts off with appreciation. Now, those second and third level connections are opportunity because they were drawn to that post for a reason, because they were looking for information. That is something that is an unexplored stone that we now can actually go into a conversation and not offer unsolicited advice. Because I have to believe, y'all know this better than I, within your industry, I'm assuming you can't just pitch unsolicited advice across the board, and potentially there has to be some level of control that y'all would get, in the insurance industry, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Carrie has asked a really good question. He said, LinkedIn seems like a lot of bots are being used as follow-up from connections. Josh, do you know how they're doing this?
I do. There's a lot of different programs out there. And I mean, you can use those bots and you will risk your account. I mean, you don't want to risk your account. You don't want that risk your brand, your person, your company. You don't want to be one of those people. And it's a big factor. I would not use that. The better way to be able to do is, find an agency. I mean, we use all humans, right? We work with amazing different clients. It's actually funny. We're actually having a conversation next week with, y'all appreciate it. Madison Square Garden has reached out to me to be able to actually talk with them, the entertainment company. I'm like, can we just trade for some tickets if we ever actually start having live events again?
Hey, this is a good
companies
time to negotiate for that.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I mean, that's
really.
what things are. I'm connecting now with more companies like Oracle, Gartner, companies like Madison Square Garden, because they want to understand how to be actually connect on a human level, not teach their sales team how to be able to sell. They want to teach their sales team in this world that we're in, we're all online, how to connect, how to ask qualifying questions to draw in the right audience and provide value based off of that. Because we live in a world right now where the one wrong statement, wrong sentence, even if they're not trained and we're all on social, you're allowing your entire staff to be on social media, it can be a downfall from just the one person saying something stupid inadvertently on social media, and it happens all the time. So you want to be able to have these ways and not use bots to be able to try and, I mean, look, what was it? I forget. Was it Amazon or one of the other companies tried to use an AI, and the AI basically went in and said something really bad one time?
I have the example. I actually have the example. Yeah. It was shared by Lisa, who's our marketing supervisor. And she said it was Aflac, actually. That someone had responded on Twitter, and it was regarding the lady's husband who had passed, and the bot answered inappropriately to her Twitter post, and it got them in quite a bit of trouble, did
Yeah.
significant amount of damage.
You know, what can happen can really hurt your company more than the opportunity that you think that you're bringing in by saving time. I know Carrie's going in, and it's like, how much time does this personal approach take each day? I mean, I tell anyone, like, if you takes longer than more than an hour a day, you're stepping outside of your zone of genius, right? This is where you should then hire another company to be able to do that, because now that's taking away the time that you are not doing what you are, you know, doing what your company does. So, I mean, this is the kind of piece you can go in, and we tell people all the time, I mean, take an hour a day. If it will bring opportunity, and LinkedIn, the organic reach without spending money, is a great way to be able to do it. But be those educators, be those leaders, and draw in that audience and treat other people the way that you want to be treated, right? I mean, it's like, he's also asking about Sales Navigator. And yeah, most people use it for, they're like, hey, you know, Ted, I see you're wearing a pink shirt. Me too. Let's connect. And, you know, it's like, what the, you know, we get these whole things, and that's what they use. They're like, I see you work at Spot On Insurance. And we all understand that we can see really quickly, and they're trying to be able to go through and pitch, but we use it as a social listening tool. Everyone posts online for one reason above all else. I don't care who you are, what you think it is. And there's one thing you could say, it's, you know, promote, to pitch, to draw, and to create influence, but we all post to be able to get that hit of dopamine we all get when we ever get that like, and like those likes and comment, those engagement, right? I mean, first and foremost, most viscerally, we want that engagement, want that hit of dopamine that we get when we get that. So we use Sales Navigators as we become quote unquote dopamine dealers, right? I mean, we kind of go in and we engage on other people's posts, and we then, you know, give them what they're looking for first to be able to draw them in a conversation, because it's much better to have a conversation with someone and explore an opportunity than to sell someone into working with you.
But I find just the regular LinkedIn platform outside of Sales Navigator very, very powerful. You know, the filters, you know, it is very, like, if you want to just reach out to chief compliance officers, you're able to do that, agency principals. So it is an excellent, excellent platform.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to be able to go into it. It's just, these days though, we just want to do it the right way. And I mean, these are these platforms, you're looking at everything. I mean, even Facebook right now, you know, they were on today talking about what they're going to be doing with the election coming up and things like that, and making sure that everyone, if you step out of compliance, you are risking your Facebook account, you are risking, you know, assume if you're going to go anything political in the next couple months, you are definitely being a risk as well.
Yeah.
Sure. So Josh, I've got some other questions for you. Do you think that you should keep your social media strictly business?
No. If you're going to post, I mean, this is what I look at. I mean, again, you need to be able to follow your company's, you know, standards of practice, whatever they have. Everyone should have a social media standards that they're allowed to be in. But this is the biggest thing on most platforms, is if you're trying to promote, you're always talking about your company, you're talking about what you do. I believe in the 10-20-70 rule, which is 10% personal, especially on LinkedIn, 10% personal. People want to work with other people that they relate to, right? I mean, there's, you know, Joyce, you and I are both in Texas. Oh, wow. Well, Josh might understand me more because he's from Texas.
Like Bluebell.
Right, exactly. Or, you know, like I've got kids, Ted and Arleen have kids. So now we actually understand, but you can share these little pieces. So 10% of your content that you post should be personal, about yourself. Give a little insight to who you are as a human being. 20% of your content should be company, because we don't want to be that person in the room always talking about ourselves. It gets exhausting. We don't want the whole, oh, there's Josh again. That dude never shuts up about LinkedIn, right? I mean, we don't want to be that person. And then 70% of your content, I believe, needs to be other that adds value. It might not be your specific content, but be an aggregator of content, right? We're all looking to be able to be the most educated in our exact fields. Find that, share that, and educate people. You can be like, oh, wow, Mike wrote this amazing article in Forbes magazine the other day that really added a ton of information on the insurance world, and I really want to be able to share it because I think it's going to be value because of X, Y, and Z. You know, think Yahoo back in the day, right? We want to be able to go in And now I've tagged Mike, I've tagged Forbes, I've, tagged his, going through the whole piece. Now his audience sees it, well, like, oh, wow, I probably should connect with Josh too, because maybe that's going on. It expands your breadth of people that you actually, and that are relatable to who you actually work with.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I look at it.
I would love to get Mike's input on this, like in terms of how you guys structure it in a policy for your alliance. And then I want to bring Joanne into the conversation. And Joanne, I'd like to pick your brain both from your current status as a regulator, but also from your previous lifetime working for a large carrier overseeing compliance at an agency level.
So we'll start with Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And that's a great question. Where are the bumper rails? What I want to share is kind of through the lens of three different cameras. The first would be our internal employees. We have an employee handbook, as I'm sure most companies do. And we recently went through the social media do's and don'ts. And there are do's. There's a lot of emphasis on the don'ts. Don't do this. But there's also, an opportunity to present the company in a positive and human way, as Josh was mentioning, and to make our company real to those that want to look at us. So we're very comfortable with that. But there are certain rails there in terms of what we share and what we don't. And those are spelled out in our employee manual. And then, of course, for our agency partners, the bumper rails get a little more wide because they have that ability to decide what they want to post and when. But they also have some limitations in terms of what the carriers place on them. And so, they are very particular about how their logo is used, how their coverages are described online. And so part of our role is making sure that our agents follow those guideposts and stay in the good graces of our carrier partners. And then the third, obviously, is our customers. Obviously, they want to be responded to. And I don't think we touched on this last time. Social media can be a great way for our customers to reach out and contact us when they have questions, concerns, or they want to know about different products. And so it's a great avenue for them to reach out and touch us. Hey, how do I get this? I'd sure like a quote on life insurance. Or hey, I saw your post about this. Is there any way you can get me more information? It's a great avenue because they're on it every day, right? We all are. I'm guilty. Facebook or LinkedIn. It's a great way for me to communicate with my agent when I do have questions and concerns. Okay? So I think those three areas, depending on what role you play, customer versus agent versus one of our internal employees.
Mike, I love that too, that you're saying, connect. I mean, it reminds me of a story, right? And this is where storytelling comes into play too. It's, you're like, they can reach out and be able to connect with your customers on there. And we recently, like flying here, the only direct flight from Austin to LA was Southwest, and they changed our flight out of nowhere. And trying to call Southwest Airlines was like a 3-hour wait. And, with everything going on right now, and my wife reached out to them on LinkedIn and on Twitter, and we actually got faster responses and they changed our flights, everything through social media, and took care of us there. And, we never even talked to anyone, and they're like, next thing you know, they made all the fixes through social media. So it's a powerful tool to be able to use and make sure that anyone that's working with the company, they're actually looking and responding, because some people set those platforms up and then they don't follow through. They don't look at the responses. So that's so important. I love that you said that.
Yeah, it is important. And obviously it's your customer service is on view for the entire world, and they're going to see how you behave, how you treat your customers. And so I think you got to be real thoughtful about that. Obviously you got to keep private, take things offline when you're going to be talking about specifics. And I'm sure the regulators can speak to that in just a moment. But yeah, your response is going to be seen by the entire world in real time. And if you're not responding, that's going to be noticed. If you are responding in a harsh way or maybe an inconsiderate way, that's going to be seen as well. But if you're real thoughtful, say, hey, we'd love to visit with you about your concern, or we take this very seriously. Could you reach out? Here's the number. You can call me directly right now. When you get that kind of customer service, it sells, and that's what people want.
So Joanne, how difficult or how easy is it for a multinational insurance company to do something like this, to keep those guardrails on for their folks?
So I'm going to say at that level, it's pretty tricky because you're really trying to manage a lot of different avenues, very difficult to control. So early on, the approach or direction was staying away from social media. As the companies really have, so again, in being in that role, as the company evolved, you realize how important it is. So it is really important to have those guidelines in place and to also have a team that can monitor them. So when you're looking at a company that's very large in size, your employees are so much a representative of who you are as a company, and managing what they post and how they post it is really a full-time job that really requires a team to keep that all in check. From a regulatory perspective, it's really very similar. So the states are really starting to hone in on the use of social media for advertising and how advertising is being presented and how it conforms to what we'll call the printed or traditional forms. And I was looking around because one of the things that, I'm going to say is specific to California. I'm not sure that there's a lot of other states that will require it, but California requires a broker to display his or her license number and include his or her license number on advertising and correspondence. So if you're transacting or soliciting, that license number has to be there, and what license number is very specific to how you transact. And so when you're transacting on behalf of multiple entities, there are multiple license numbers involved. And where that didn't initially roll out was to social media. So what I was able to find before this call is that California actually did set some precedent in terms of ruling that social media correspondence is no different than email. And so one of the things that's important, and this is where for us as a company, right, when I was working on the agency side, we erred on the side of caution and made sure that the license number was everywhere. And what I would tell you is that it did, where I didn't actually know a few hours ago for sure if California had something very specific, there was actually court litigation over this. And it is important to make sure that your social media guidelines are conforming to what we would call, what many states have as traditional guidelines. The states are starting to branch out more now, but they're still kind of behind the times as far as updating those regulations. And you may have to dig in and look for litigation or bulletins or notices that are going to supersede what you might think, or the fact that there isn't a specific regulation that's, I'm going to say, in place that governs social media. It's coming, but in the event, in the short term, those other places are going to be important to take a look at.
Yeah, I think there might still be a lot of ambiguity, and I wish that John Hayworth were here. He's a regulator from the state of Washington, because he actually mentioned on one of the compliance sessions that he participated with us that he actually checks Twitter, and he can identify sometimes what some of the producers in his state are doing. But
he's checked and put some people in check on Twitter. It's more like it.
So Joanne, what do you think about, like, let's say a producer's out there in California and the wildfires are going on, and they put out a tweet saying, hey, if you need help with your wildfire claims, or, getting a new policy in place, do you think something as simple as that would, you're supposed to at some point have your license number on there?
That is solicitation, and solicitation would require you to identify yourself. You have to make sure you keep the insurance company out of it. And then a wildfire is not necessarily the type of coverage, but certain coverages in California specifically have to be sold with the special license.
Right.
So you can't, even if you hold, I'm going to say the standard licenses, there are specific advertising guidelines for special lines insurers. And so it's really important what you say out on social media, and it is certainly being looked at. And I would tell you on the agency and carrier side, agents and carriers are looking at this as well. In terms of their insureds, insurance fraud, there's lots of ways to kind of dig into what's going on just using that social media and what people are posting and where they frequent and who their friends are.
And Joanne, I don't know if you can answer this, but this is the area that I love, like getting into like all of the little spiders out there that they have. But do the states use like robots also to kind of drill down on this and scrutinize this? Or is it all?
I could honestly not say that I know that for sure. I would expect to probably have a couple of states out there that are, robust enough to really implement those kinds of tools. I think you still have a group of states that are catching up from a technology perspective.
I thought you were going to the dark web.
No. we did have a podcast interview yesterday, and it was
fascinating.
We learned about the dark web a little bit more. Yeah, Russ, you would have loved it.
Why would I be interested in the dark web?
Look at the room you're in.
Right.
I just wanted to add to what Joanne was saying about the California license number. I even read, and I didn't know this till today, I didn't know it was so specific, but it even said that it has to be as prominent as your address and phone number. You can't have your, company address and phone number in a big font and then your license number in a teeny weeny font. So I thought that was really interesting too. I've known for years about the fact that you needed to display the license number. I didn't know that they went, one step further to say, and by the way, has to be as prominent as your address and your phone number.
Should be readable.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's kind of weird.
Wow.
Joanne, you and I were, chatting earlier today, and talk to us about like the special surplus lines license. That's what we were talking about a little today.
Yes, and special lines licenses or special lines licensees generally follow the same guidelines, but are also permitted to, I'm trying to think of the right word. They're permitted to advertise some of the lines, only those lines that can't be written using a traditional surplus lines license. So essentially that winds up falling into areas like ocean marine and aircraft and spacecraft. So even if an agency holds that special line, unless an agency holds that special lines license, you may have a division of people who have that license. If the agency doesn't hold all of those same authorities, they can't advertise those types of coverage. So you have to hold that special lines license to do that.
And we just kind of want to reemphasize that, or just emphasize that this is something that's pretty unique to California, right? Joyce, and I don't know if you remember, and some of the folks from our team that might be on as attendees, but not many states have a special lines. It falls under surplus lines. But it's California that has surplus lines and then the special lines in addition.
Yeah, I think New York, and this is where I wish I had all of those specifics at hand. New York with an agent and broker's license also has some differences between what each can do from the aspect of which of those licenses you hold.
Another thing, John Hayworth had mentioned when we talked on, this was for anybody that wasn't able to attend, this was the segments that we did on market conduct. And as Arleen mentioned, John Hayworth is a regulator out of Washington. And he was talking about that he personally would go to Twitter accounts or what have you, and can check up on insurers, but he's actually going to maybe agency Twitter accounts, agent Twitter accounts. The other thing that you have to be very careful of out there is the use of your DBAs. If those aren't registered, if you're not if that DBA is not been registered at the Department of Insurance and possibly even at the Secretary of State or the county or city municipal level first before you can register at the Department of Insurance, but you're touting that DBA all over your social media, they're seeing that too.
And Joyce is making a good point. Don't advertise under a DBA if it's not registered in the state. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies that come to us for help and guidance are really surprised to find that it's not as simple as just going down to the county clerk's office and filing it. I mean, in Texas, that's one way of filing a DBA is you can do it at the county level. You also have to do it at the Secretary of State, and then in some county before you can go file it at the Department of Insurance. You can't just skip right to the DOI and file it. And I mean, I could go on about this for days, but if you didn't file with the Secretary of State in the first place, and now you need to file a DBA at the Department of Insurance, you might have to go back and file at the Secretary of State first, make your original filing, file your DBA, and then go to the DOI. But I digress. We get way off track.
But she loves that stuff.
I love that stuff.
So Joyce, I can't believe you don't just press the easy button.
Josh is like, what the hell? What? Oh, sorry.
I love it.
That's the kind of stuff that you
don't
can't
get Arleen started.
Yeah. So
I'm going to have Christian, just so that everyone can see where our past compliance sessions are on YouTube, and they want to check out the one with John Hayworth. There's our playlist.
There's a list.
Yeah, we've done it on producer agreements, the market conduct, and so that was really enlightening, because that's during the market conduct one was when we got an eye-opener, just realizing that regulators are looking at social media platforms to check out what you're doing. That was amazing.
It was.
We're trying to keep busy during COVID, as you can see.
Producers are probably like, oh no, more stuff is being thrown our way.
Well, and the other thing before I forget, because it's kind of an interesting thing, is that your correspondence online, so emails and answering your customer inquiries or requests or questions, are subject to the same document retention policy as any other documents. And so that's one thing too, in terms of using social media, but making sure you have policies in place. And it doesn't, I don't know if it has a good spot for like kind of our discussion today. So I wanted to just mention it because it's somewhere too where we think we can just get rid of those or they have no importance. But they are subject to the retention requirements in your state.
Yeah, and I think Mike spoke a little bit on that, on their internal policies, and like if you're using it through WhatsApp and all of that, and how you can keep track of all of that.
It's absolutely critical. Those conversations, anytime you talk about coverage, price, or recommendations, all of that needs to be documented. And so, and save that in your agency management system or what have you. And so those online digital records, guess what? You know, that you've got to treat them exactly the same. So, Joanne, that's a great point.
You were talking about John's episode. He also talked about some of the tools that he was using, like a Python app called Beautiful Soup. He not only can use that to find a lot of things, but then he's got screenshots. So, you know, if you try to pull something down and say, oh, no, that, you know, we didn't do that.
That was amazing.
Get away with it.
Oh, my gosh.
Pretty sophisticated for a regulator, you would think.
Yeah.
But he's all
Oh
over.
yeah.
He loves that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. You can tell he eats and breathes that stuff. Mikey, I was going to ask you about documentation and document retention anyway. So that's great that we went. Did you have anything else you wanted to expound on that at all before we move on?
Just further to say it's how important it is. It really is on multiple levels. Number one, in order to keep track of how the conversation went. And then obviously, when regulators have questions about how we answered or what we answered, that would be documented and captured somehow. And I think Joshua mentioned last time, there's a number of tools that you can get where you can do screen capture or conversation capture on those conversations so they can be preserved.
Yeah, you always want to make sure you're keeping track. And I mean, this goes back to like Joanne and what she was saying too with the training, right? You want to make sure everyone understands what needs to happen. I mean, every employee needs to be, if you don't think that, if you're not capturing it, I guarantee you the other side, if you said something to them incorrectly, they're going to have it. So you need to make sure too that training is across the board. I mean, we, outside of the insurance industry, I mean, doing trainings for bigger companies like Oracle and Gartner, we're not just doing for some of their company, we're doing training for the entire company. So everyone is on the same page, everyone at the business. I was, looking at some of the comments here. You want to make sure that everyone knows to watch how they speak online, even online or in the messaging, that they need to be able to say whenever certain things, when they get to a certain point. All these different aspects are really, really important. No matter big or small the company, you need to really make sure you stay in compliance and you're keeping track. You stay to a standard.
Let me back up because Carrie had posed a question, and I missed it until just now. So I'm going to back up a little bit to earlier conversations. But Carrie had said, one of my challenges is keeping the conversation going. I'll have great connections and then the level of interest drops off. So how do you keep so many conversations going?
Can I answer that, Joyce?
Absolutely.
Since I'm on there so much on LinkedIn, I like to keep the conversations, a lot of them just as private messages. So I have one-on-one conversations with people. So if they ask me for a resource or whatever it is, I like to keep it private and keep it going that way. And I just keep track of them. So Josh, maybe you want to add to that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, with every company, we always make sure that we follow the different social media practices they have in line, but almost with everyone, I mean, we have a specific way we take our clients through conversations to be able to keep that conversation going. So, whenever we're connecting with these other people, we're starting a conversation, and this is where it kind of saves you too from solicitation, right? I mean, this is one of the biggest things that with any industry, you have to watch how you solicit your services and what's going on, especially in y'all's. We go through and there's never any solicitation, right? It's being able to go through. So we connect with someone. We appreciate them for either engaging on our content, looking at our profile, or we've engaged on their content. We appreciate them for sharing those. That's how we always start. I hate cold calls and I hate cold email, and it's very difficult across the board to do a lot of those things. So we connect with them. Once we connect with someone, we're actually going through, and as I said, some of the stuff that I do is just what my mom and dad taught me how to treat other human beings, right? Appreciate them. Next, give a compliment. So we go through on LinkedIn. It allows us to give them an endorsement, right? That's like a compliment. I can endorse someone's skills on LinkedIn. LinkedIn makes it fairly easy for us to be able to then go in and go, hey, thanks for giving me the compliment, Ted. And that gives you the opportunity to go, yeah, no problem. Hey, quick question for you. So we take everyone and then we ask them a question about what's going on. Maybe, if it's mindset, if it's something, but not specifically about what you're doing, but it gives you insight into who they are, what they need, and where they're going, that then you can provide value to either go, wow, that's amazing. I love how you answered that. I'd love to learn more. Do you have 15 minutes to jump on a call so we can have a conversation like offline, right? Or you can provide like, here's the top 10 ways to be able to do this. Here's something that might interest you. you're providing them information after they've given you what answer to your question. So that's the process that we take everyone through. And that gives 7 to 8 touch points to be able to connect with someone before we ever talk about a services that we provide, no matter what industry we're working with at that point in time. So you're building a relationship first. And I think that helps a lot of people to be able to continue the conversation with multiple touch points you just continue to do that with every client, right? You're going through, you engage with them, then you appreciate them, and then you ask them a question, and then you can kind of provide value so it doesn't come off the selling, and you do not step over some of these non-solicitation issues that come across many, many times in multiple different industries.
Yeah. Even for us, for our business in Texas, our licensing and compliance business, so much of what we have on our website is information that we're giving away for free, and so Russ, I'd love for you to share like our newsroom where we have all of the bulletins from the states. So this is something that we put together so that we are just giving this information. It might not be the right time for someone to come and use our services, but they know that that is there as a resource and they can go to it whenever they want. So just talk a little bit about that, Russ, what we have there.
Okay, I'm still kind of mind blown because it sounds like what he's saying is that social media is not for being mean and nasty to people. Still trying to wrap my head around that, but
apparently a lot of people are.
Arleen is absolutely right. What we've tried to do, and our marketing team has done just a great job in every aspect of our website. They put together a way for people to get resources easily. We've just collected a lot of valuable information, and I think they presented it in a way that's very easy to use, and it's very relevant. And it's very up to date. They just do an awesome job. Can't brag on them enough. I really can't. Lisa told me I needed to. So what we have here is on ilsainc.com under our newsroom. We post all of the state regulatory bulletins. We collect them all, and very often we can get these things posted faster than you would ever believe. In fact, if you look at what we've got up today, we've got an Illinois post from yesterday, a Michigan post from yesterday, and another one from the day before. So you can go here. You don't have to wait to get a notification. If you really want to know what's going on in your state, you pop on here. We've got everything tagged by topic. You can also search for a particular topic and you'll go right to the bulletin that you need, or you can search by state. Now, another great resource that we have is over on our resource tab, and we have all the contact information, here it comes, for all the states. So since we saw a Michigan bulletin there, we can pop onto Michigan. We've got links directly to the licensee searches that are on the Michigan Department of Insurance website. We can go to the Department of Revenue, the Secretary of State, and it also has a business entity search. So any states that have those features, we link directly to that. If that's all you want to do, you pop in there, you can go look up a licensee, you can go look up corporate information. It's all in one spot. You can bookmark this. This is for everybody in the industry, and it's super useful tool. And we put that out there so that it will save you time and effort in trying to find out the things that you need to know.
Russ, I'll point out one thing, that you'd be hard pressed to look at any solicitation there for us trying to get their business or anything else. What we're trying to do there's one contact us there. There's a homepage you can go see what's going on, but this is not us trying to sell anyone anything. What we're doing is what the social media marketers have learned a while ago, and they've been preaching this for several years now, and we learned this here in Puerto Rico as well, and that is give 80 to receive 20. So you spend a lot of time giving that information, and people in time with that will start returning that to you. Give a smile, and the smile comes back. So
absolutely,
focus on that.
We
educate your audience, right?
Site, there's educational tools there, so you can go and learn, your compliance terminology or whatever. The whole site is really about helping you. Either if you're new in the industry, there's resources there. If you've been in the industry a long time and you just need something quick at your fingertips, it's all there.
So Russ, again, if they have questions there and they call us, how much do we charge?
Well, our consulting fee is around zero. And that's, I probably shouldn't brag too much on this. I'll get in trouble. One of the managers is going to get me. So we get calls for other entities in the industry. I won't name them. I'm not giving free advertising, but somebody will call and say, hey, I'm trying to do this. I'm on the website. It's messing up. Can you help me? And we're like, well, that's not us. But click here, go there, do this, do that. We give away a lot of free help to folks that are confused or having trouble. And occasionally, we don't use that as a soliciting opportunity, but occasionally people will come back and say, well, if this is not you, then who are you? Okay, well, now you open the door, so we're going to talk to you. But yeah, we constantly are steering people to the right place and trying to help them out. And it's like Ted said, you make friends and then you don't have customers. You have friends.
Right.
So Joshua, what were you trying to say?
That's right.
No, it was the same. And that's a great way. I mean, being that educators, right? Inspiring people, having someone make an educated decision to work with you because you educated them on what you do and what they should be looking at is so much more powerful in today's world than selling someone to work with you. Because again, then you're spending the entire time as they're your clients, convincing them daily or monthly or whatever it might be of why they need you, right? And it's so much more exhausting. So for us to be able to go in, I love that site. I mean, that gives you so much, as I was telling my process, right? I mean, you ask a question, they answer it. Whoever they answer it, y'all have built such an amazing resource that you can go, wow, that's amazing. Here you go, boom, give it. And now you're, like I always tell everyone, what we do is we create advocates and allow the byproduct to become clients because they choose to work with us rather than, having to go through this whole sales process. And it's such more of a powerful influence in today's world.
Yeah. And so, Joanne, I might be putting you on the spot, but you are the Vice President of Education and Compliance. I think I got that right, at the SLA of California. Now, you are starting to host educational sessions for California Surplus Lines members. Is that correct?
Well, we've always provided continuing education for our resident licensees. And with the pandemic, we've just launched a webinar series, which currently is still, I'm going to say, for the benefit of those in California to obtain those CE credits. But some of what we are expanding out on later in the year is really opening that up to other states and looking at topics that really are about our industry. So the Surplus Line Association is there to facilitate, for its members, a healthy way to do business, a way to stay compliant. And a lot of the focus that we've shifted our attention to is to making sure that we're providing, the level of help that lets a broker call us and know that we can relate to what that question is at a business level, and again, give them the best advice that we can, give them the regulations, provide them with the knowledge that they need to make their decision, but then some advice along with that to say, hey, practically, this might, be something to look at. So we've really changed that effort quite a bit over these past few months, and it seems to be having a really positive impact for our members, which is exciting.
Very, very good. So and did you say, just to clarify, towards the end of the year, you believe that those sessions will be opened up to California non-residents?
Yeah, so we're trying to look at really where, the world of continuing education has a big process along with it in terms of being approved as a provider and making sure that we're developing content that's applicable in other states. And then really the process of going through each state and getting the approvals for each individual course. So we're trying to put a program together and work collectively with some other groups to be able to offer those credits to all of our members in their, I'm going to say their resident license state.
Very good. And also, we just found out for ourselves that these webinars that we are hosting are going to provide credit for SILA members. So we're really excited about that. You know, we ended up putting together these webinars, and now we found out that SILA members who are, you know, so much a part of our industry are going to be able to get credits from our sessions. So we're excited about that.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. I need to ask Mike a question real quick before we run out of time. Mike, talk to us, please, about how much to share or not to share on social media regarding quotes and binds and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's a great question. And, you know, I hope that our agents from Pacific Crest, I'm only talking to you right now, I hope you're scared away by anything we've discussed today, because social media is definitely, it is ripe for the pickings in terms of making connections, real life connections with future clients. So I hope nothing that we've shared will scare you away, but obviously the message is to be real thoughtful about what you share and when you should share it, that sort of thing. And that's a great question. You know, sharing too much about an individual circumstance, hey, great, we saved them 10%, great. Now, when you get into details and you share out personal data with someone else, or a quote that might not be applicable to someone else, they infer that they can get the same deal. And regulators a lot of times look at it that way, thinking, okay, if you advertise it this way, that means everybody's going to get that same deal. And so being really, really thoughtful about what you share about your clients. Obviously, we want to humble brag about helping people and serving people. That's our industry, right? But there's lines there that we just can't cross. So just being real thoughtful about what we share, right?
Absolutely. Thank you. I know we're about to run out of time. If anyone has been able to kind of look at through the chat, for the attendees, Lisa, our marketing supervisor, she is always just so full of information, but she has put plenty of comments out there. She's always ready to give an analogy or give us, you know, a horror story of things that she knows about that's happening out there, especially on social media, about how that, you know, bad things, good things, it all can stick with you forever. She has shared some links out there to our previous compliance conversations. Thank you, Lisa, for tackling that for me, because I've been hemmed up doing other things. Just to round it out, you know, for the last minute that we have, Joanne and Mike, if you could just kind of talk to us about some of the activities that actually constitute solicitation, whereas you would be required to have a license. Do you have something for me on that?
Joanne, I'll let you start. You're the regulator.
Well, it's kind of quasi, right, in terms of being with the association itself. But I think as far as solicitation, you have to be very careful about anything that is there to draw someone to you or to contact you for more information, right? So solicitation comes in many forms. It can come in that direct form of really targeting and contacting people that way, but as well at a general level in terms of, we have this great coverage, come here and, you know, visit with us. Those are all different ways of soliciting. Again, healthy solicitation with the proper guidelines and in the proper forms is really, as Mike already pointed out, this is really the greatest place to be able to do it. There's a huge market and availability in terms of using that to your advantage. It's really just making sure that, you know, with that solicitation, you're really adhering to the other advertising guidelines that might be in place.
I would just add one more thing. I would echo those comments. Is just solicitation is the eye of the beholder, and you as a customer, you get the impression that you were offered something or a certain price or a certain coverage. I think that's when you get in the danger zone. And so just being very thoughtful about what you post. And if it, you know, it's, you know, a great time to invite them to have a conversation offline and discuss their real needs, but do it offline.
That's great.
Could not have said it better.
Great advice, definitely.
If you guys think of questions during the week, make sure you just send them over to ccquestions@ilsainc.com. I want to thank all of our panelists for having been here with us. Such great information. And keep safe, everyone. I know there's storms all over the place going on.
And remember, you'll be charged a whopping $0 for asking as many questions as you like, okay? So don't be shy.
Thank you so much, guys. Have
Thank
a
you.
great rest of the week and a safe weekend. A long weekend.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Bye,
All
guys.
right, everybody.
Thanks, panelists. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.